Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 357 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. A big thank you, as always, to our TSP Patreon community, because we couldn't make the show each week without your loyal support. And a warm welcome to Neil, who's joined our TSP supporter tier, and Andrew Steele, who's joined our Francis Benali tier. So coming up this week on the podcast, the January transfer window closes on Monday night at 7, and it looks like there will be at least one significant departure. We'll get the latest on what to expect and the various connotations there. It was a fairly textbook win away at Stoke on Saturday. Lots of positives to get stuck into shortly, which makes a nice change. And managerless Watford, as they're more commonly known, are next up in the league. So we'll look ahead to that game. This is Martin Starke, and joining me this week, Steve Grant is the owner of SaintsWeb. Glen Cour is writer of the blog League One -10, and Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter at the Daily Echo. So I guess we start with the transfers. There are now less than 24 hours left of the January transfer window, and it looks like it could be a busy day for you, Alfie. A few developments today, and probably the biggest one from the weekend. I guess we start with Adam Armstrong, who looks like he might be off to Wolves.
Yeah, as the story broken by John Percy at the Telegraph initially, £7 million guaranteed, £2 million in add-ons, and Wolves are getting a player who, is a proven Championship striker, 29 years old in a couple of weeks, and out of contract next summer, which I think is the big kicker for Saints. The impression I had was that Saints were reluctant to lose both Cameron Archer and Adam Armstrong. They would have liked to sell Cameron Archer for a proper fee, but if it's only available for loan, then I guess moving Adam Armstrong out makes sense with the deal coming up expiring. If they could get more money, I think maybe. I'm not sure it's an amazing deal. I understand where they're coming from in terms of wanting to get a deal done now while he's still got a bit of value. But I know he hasn't scored in sort of 10 games, but 11 goals this season. Can play in a couple of different positions across the. He can probably play in any position in the front four. So yeah, it's just a bit of an odd one. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on at Wolves, because they're a terrible team, and I'm not sure he's going to make any difference to their season in the Premier League. But I've got no doubt that he will be scoring goals probably against Saints in the Championship next season. So yeah, that one's probably going to get done tomorrow.
We've obviously heard the rumours over the weekend, Glenn, and then when he wasn't in the squad yesterday because he had a knock, that was it, kind of, wasn't it? We all went into overdrive. Can you see the sense in getting £7 million for him, or is it a bit of a strange one for you?
It sounds a bit cheap, to be perfectly honest, which makes me wonder. It naturally makes me wonder if they see him as a bit of a problem and they want to get him out the door. That's kind of my initial reaction. Maybe that's very, very cynical. You could also say it's not great to be selling to a team that will probably be a rival for next year.
Yeah.
There's another reason why, I'm beginning to wonder why exactly they want to get rid of him. I didn't realise his contract was up next year, so he's got a year and a half left to go. So maybe. I mean, the thing we have to remember is that we didn't get enough players out the door in the summer.
Yeah.
So there are books to be balanced, and however much you don't like that as a fan, that's a fact of life. So maybe they see that 7 + 2. Achievable add-ons, whatever that means. So let's call it 9 million. Maybe they think 9 million for a 29-year-old with a year and a half left. Is a good enough deal to take.
We should say that before we carry on. Actually, Wolves bid for the first time last night, so Saturday night after the game. They bid for the first time, which was rejected, an even lower offer than 7 + 2. So I don't know what the first bid was, but it might have even been 5 + 2, or who knows. But yeah, they rejected the first bid, and then the second one was obviously accepted earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes, which he probably will. I mean, trying to remember the positives, he gave us one of our best moments as Saints fans in. Well, probably the biggest moments is Bobby Stokes with the winner in the playoff final. So you've always got to sort of like shine that particular light on him. Gave us all a great day, even though it's not gone so well since. But he's strange player. I mean, clearly not good enough for the Premier League, and there are times where he doesn't look good enough in the Championship when he's kind of playing with zero confidence. But then earlier on this season, when during the Tonda interim period, he he was playing like Brazilian Ronaldo in his prime, wasn't he? Relatively speaking, for us, he was just brilliant. So he's a strange player. I don't understand from his personal point of view wanting to move to Wolverhampton, because you're going to be in the Championship next year and you're going to be living in Wolverhampton. So why?
I can't imagine players actually live in Wolverhampton, to be fair. They probably live
maybe not. But it's a bit of a commute from here, isn't it?
So somewhere like that.
It's a bit of a strange one. So I assume there's an increase in wages and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and also, to be frank, Glenn, I think the atmosphere at Saints is shocking. I think it's probably a horrific place to work and play football, if we're being totally honest. So I think that well, as we can see, nobody has signed a new contract with this club since Jack Stevens in the summer, have they? Nobody of note, anyway. So I don't think it's a particularly advertising place to be.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not if you've been here a while as well. As we said last week, most of his sort of like people that we knew were his mates have all left. So maybe he just wanted a new start, But yeah, I can understand Ryan Fraser wanting to go to Australia, but maybe not Wolverhampton. But no, if he goes, good luck to him. He will score against us next year. That's guaranteed. But I think he's one of the players that we do need to move on. We do need to move on.
I don't think like him. Now.
Though, was it?
We thought maybe the summer.
Yeah. No, I thought the summer would be when he'd leave. But there you go. I think it's from the club's point of view, it's probably financial, wanting to get a bit of money in. That's it.
So the downside to that, Steve, of course, is that we find ourselves in a position where we're relying on Johannes Spors to find a replacement and get something over the line last minute. So there's a few names that have been kicking around today, and a Canadian international by the looks of it.
Yeah, 30-year-old on loan. I mean, ultimately, the problem that you kind of find yourself in at this stage, where you've let one of your four strikers go out on loan at the start of the window. And we all thought that Damien Downes was probably going to get replaced this month. There's talk that Cam Archer's going to go on loan as well, potentially. I mean, maybe Armstrong going puts a block on that. But you've had the potential for all three of those going out the door this month. And I mean, you think Armstrong is your guarantee of goals in this division. I'm sure, given the. Like if this kind of upturn in form that we've had the last week and a half kind of carries on for most of the end of the season, you would imagine Adam Armstrong ends the season with 20 goals again. And I don't think that's particularly outlandish prediction. But yeah, you're now going to have to replace those goals from somewhere. And clearly Tonda wants to use Ross Stewart. When fit and available. I mean, we've all seen what he's capable of when he's kind of in that groove. But we also know the reality of the situation, and that if you overwork him, then something will break down again. So there does need to be quality in the door to replace. It's probably going to be a loan now. You're talking a day from the end of the January window. Nobody who's got anybody that's any good is going to be willing to let those good players leave certainly on permanent transfers, unless the money was sort of way over the odds. And clearly we're not going to be paying way over the odds for anybody you would think at this stage. We're not in desperation stakes. We are mid-table, not going down, probably not going up, but at the same time you've got to kind of maintain that mentality of you're still trying to get promoted here. That is still the aim of the game this season. 7 points off the top six. It's not completely out of the question. If you go on a run, I mean, I think 16 games left. You win 10, you're in that top six, and that's not kind of remotely beyond our grasp. I would say this team, if they're able to put that sort of run together. But whether we trust them to do it or not, open to question, of course. But yeah, the centre forward situation, there needs to be somebody in the door of quality. This Canadian lad who's been on loan at Feyenoord, I mean, he's only played 400 minutes this season. So he's coming. If he's the guy that comes in, he's coming in cold. So he'll need time to get up to speed. And you run into similar problems that we've had in the past, where, I mean, certainly Damien Downes, we could have done with blooding him into the team quite gently, but instead we needed him to start games fairly early on in the season, and we probably put too much pressure on him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's frustrating. I think somebody who's got a bit more pedigree, loan move is fine. I think see us through to the end of the season, but I think ideally I would have liked somebody who I think we would have a little bit more confidence that they would be able to score the goals that we need. Don't know.
The other one that is being mentioned, of course, Alfie, is Cam Archer to Rangers, potentially a loan till the end of the season. Do you see that going through as well? There was a bit of confusion yesterday, wasn't there? Like maybe one or the other, but not both. And maybe today it looks like perhaps both might go.
Yeah, I think from the player's point of view, Cameron Archer obviously wants to go to Rangers. I think he's probably been a little bit frustrated that they haven't pushed that deal through already. I think that's fair to say. No deal has been agreed on that. It's been described to me today as 50-50, so it could well still happen. That would leave Saints with Ross Stewart, Kyle Larin, and obviously Nick Oyakunle, who wasn't quite at the races at Stoke, but they do want to give him some developmental opportunities this season. So it could still happen, but it's very much 50-50 at the moment. But for me, I mean, I don't think that Saints will miss him. I think there's talk of, if Cameron Archer goes, we sort of need to replace him. So we'll replace what? He hasn't done anything. So I get in terms of bodies, I suppose, but there are different ways you can play. That being said, there is obviously a reasonable scenario here where Ross Stewart's injured again mid-February, and we're left with just this Kyle Larin and Nick Oyakunle for the rest of the season. And then things do start to look a little bit unserious at Saints. So, I'm not sure if that will happen, but it's been described as 50-50.
Taylor Harwood-Bellis as well. Bellis Glen, that was the other one on Wednesday night. Was it Wednesday night? It was earlier the week when at West Ham.
Friday night.
Was it Friday? It seems like a long time ago now. But that was an official bid that came in, and that one seems to be firmly rejected. So I'm sure
that was laughed out the door. It was £12 million over a course of 6 years, which is a West Ham classic. I think that it would take at least what Saints paid for Taylor Harwood-Bellis. We're talking 20 million for them to do a deal. And I feel like at this late stage, you'd almost want them to say, well, even if 20 million comes in, it's too late now. So you've missed the boat on that one. Glenn or Steve, one of you made a good point there in terms of Adam Armstrong. He's probably a player that we wanted to move on in the summer anyway. I think that there's going to be a lot of those players. I think the club do want to reset the situation, and I do wonder if Taylor Harwood-Bellis is one of those players this summer anyway. But right now, definitely not. I mean, his performance in the last couple of weeks, at Pompey and particularly at Stoke with the first goal, just shows why we need him. And he stepped up his game. And I think Tom the Wrecker quite rightly praised Taylor for his performance, given the fact that West Ham had bid for him literally 12 hours before kickoff, and he still he was in the starting 11. He didn't have a knock like Adam Armstrong. He was willing to play, and he's put in a quality performance. So fair play to Taylor. He's gone up in my estimations a lot with that.
And I think his value would have gone up after yesterday as well. The only other one, of course, chaps, was Joe Aribo to Leicester, but I don't think we're going to lose any sleep over that. Who knows? Are we?
That's taking him on loan. He's going to take 6 weeks to get up to speed, and that's if he plays. And they're not going to play him because he's not fit. And he's the sort of player that needs a run of games to get fit. So juniors get him out the door. And that's him gone, isn't it? Because he's out of contract.
Contract in the summer,
Obviously, his best pal, Samadozi, is also on that list. As far as today, there was nothing really doing for Samadozi. Obviously, that may change in the last 24 hours, but at the moment, nothing in for him. And that would potentially mean he would be reintegrated into the squad this time, I'm told. We'll have to wait and see.
I thought he was already reintegrated.
Well, that's exactly. Well, he's training, isn't he? His training is available, but I mean, he hasn't been in the squad once this season. So I think in terms of actually maybe using him as an option, which, to be fair, the only backup we've got is Jay Robinson in a wide area now, especially if Adam Armstrong goes for both sides. So I guess you could say Matsky as well, to be fair. Nothing doing for him at the moment. I guess we'll see.
Could be a busy 24 hours, so. Let's talk about some football because we've got a positive result. Saints beating Stoke 2-0 on Saturday to end that lengthy run without an away league win. Clean sheet was a welcome little bonus too. I assume, Glenn, we could all agree that was our best starting 11. When that came out at 2 o'clock, you kind of look at that and go, that's fair. We're going to give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's many people that would have picked a different starting 11, bearing in mind the situation with Adam Armstrong and his mythical knock. So no, when I saw that team sheet, I thought, yeah, that's good. And to be fair, the 11 players for the 60 odd minutes that they were on the pitch, I thought it's right up there with the best performance of the season. Really, I know we had the win against Charlton, which was a bit of a freak, but I thought that was a really, really good professional performance yesterday. Carried a threat throughout. When we played Pompey, we've noticed how much more resilient the team is looking, and they didn't take any chances at the back against Pompey, and said last week that they need to keep the resilience but also play a bit when they've got the ball, which they didn't do at Pompey. And I thought the balance was right against Stoke. They played when they could, and when they couldn't, it was like no messing really. So I never really felt. I mean, Peretz made a couple of brilliant saves, but they were kind of bolts from the blue, both of those efforts. I didn't feel that Stoke really did anything. Solid back four and a decent goalkeeper. Who knew? It was just.
Which is what we recruited for in the summer.
And I mean, I'm gonna pick out Jack Stevens because I thought he was excellent. He made 2 really good tackles in the first minute, and that seemed to set him up for the rest of the game. And I thought that's the best game he's had for a long, long time. The challenge as always with Jack is to keep that going, because I thought he was excellent yesterday. Getting involved, not the back four, as discussed, doesn't give you an opportunity to hide at all. He has to get stuck in. He has to make tackles. I thought he was excellent. Thought Wellington was good. Thought Bree was good. Harwood-Bellis, as discussed, good. Goalkeeper, excellent. So that's the basis. But the overall performance off the ball, without the ball, I thought we were excellent, and that was led by Flynn Downes, who is now back to the player who looked probably the best player in the Championship 2 years ago. Just everywhere about the park, getting stuck in, not giving anyone any time, and scoring a goal whilst lying on his ass, which is all you can ask for, really. So, no, I just thought the performance was excellent. It was a little bit of a dip when the subs came on, because we kind of lost the attack a little bit, but the game was done there, and by then, well, as much as it ever is with us, you always wonder if they're going to throw something in, but yeah, and that starting 11 was excellent, and we did enough to get the job done, and we look like a proper team out there, proper Championship side. So all good.
There were so many standout performances, Alfie. Who were the standouts for you? Who stepped up to the plate?
I think Flynn Downes, as Glen said, I think he was absolutely immense. Really, really good. Aside from the goal aside, just superb all over. I agree with the Jack Stevens shout. That record seems to keep following Jack Stevens. Saints, whether people like it or not, are much better with him than they are without. And I started to lose my faith a little bit when I felt that his performances dropped quite a lot actually during sort of that November-December period. I thought that he'd almost lost it a little bit, but I think he's been brilliant in the last couple of weeks, particularly yesterday. And now it's 1.5 points per game with Jack Stevens and 1 point without him after 2 or 3 seasons of a very similar record. So fair play to him. And Wellington's just made that position his own as well. The most tackles anyone in the game. It's very nice having a left back who has such a determination to defend like he does. And you don't need him to attack because you've got Leo Senzo ahead of him. You've got Tom Fellows on the other side. I also like Finn Azaz. I know I'm sort of becoming the head of the Finn Azaz fan club, and I need to sort of tone it in because he's not that Premier League level player yet. But again, yesterday, the quality of the pass. There was one around the corner to Tom Fellows that was actually saved by the goalkeeper. It's one of his best passes yet. He's got real quality about him. Obviously, I know it was a tap in for his goal set up by Tom Fellows, but I enjoyed watching him as well.
Should we have had a few penalties, Steve?
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously the ref that did the Man City Wolves game last week and was praised by basically everyone except Pep Guardiola for being sent to the screen and sticking to his guns and saying no penalty, and he was right to do so on that occasion. But I'm not sure he got anything right yesterday. Just a dreadful game from him, and like really inconsistent as well. Like he'd have these little 5-minute spells where he'd let everything go, and then another 5 minutes where you breathe on someone, not going to give a free kick for it. Azaz should have had a penalty. It was never a dive. It was definitely a foul. Defender's knee clearly bumps into his knee and thigh combined, knocks him over. yeah, Stewart handballed it in the build-up. But again, the referee was looking right at that. You look at you look back at the highlights and the replay of that incident. The referee is about 10, 15 yards away with a perfect view of Ross Stewart batting it down with his hand. Decides that's fine. Has still got a good view of the penalty incident and comes up with that. And it's just absolute nonsense. And then you've got 2 or 3 incidents at various points where we've had corners and either Stevens or Harwood-Bellis are being wrestled to the ground. Clearly, the ball's in play. So it's not like one of those scenarios where the referee does his usual thing of stopping the corner being taken and coaching the defenders how not to give away a penalty. They've done it. They've pulled the guy, pulled either Stevens or Harwood-Bellis down. And again, you look on the replay, the one in the first half on Stevens, again, the ref's looking right at it.
Yeah.
Just gutless, absolutely gutless. Just dreadful from start to finish. Really didn't like even the sort of the really obvious ones. There were a couple where he would like try and play an advantage, and then like the advantage would fizzle out basically immediately, and he wouldn't bring it back. He'd just say, "Oh, tough shit, you've given the ball away now." It's like that's not how this is supposed to work. And there's been a lot of sort of stuff written about him in that, because he's a former player, he played at a good level, he knows the game. I mean, clearly he doesn't, based on our eyes. Just so infuriating when you've got a referee who literally a week after being rightfully praised for sticking to his guns, seems to have just decided that I'm not actually going to be not up for this one. I mean, in fairness, if you've been relegated from doing Man City home games to Stoke against Saints on a Saturday lunchtime, then I can understand him being a little bit pissed off. But
a bit miffed.
To kind of take that out on everybody else is probably not right.
I guess you agree, Glenn.
Well, I mean, it was interesting getting I had a quick look on X last night about Stoke fans, and quite a few of them were saying, "Oh, he's a great referee." he let the game flow. Yeah, he did let the game flow in your favour all game. Yeah, I mean, they weren't even subtle. The ones in the penalty area. I mean, the one on Jack Stevens, the guy's hanging onto his arm with both of his hands like a water skier behind a boat. It's ridiculous, and he doesn't let go. Stevens goes down. He's looking right at the linesman's that side as well. No penalty. And the Harwood-Bellis one, to stick with the nautical theme, it was like a sail coming out from a mast, wasn't it? It was just like so obvious, and he's looking straight at it, and he doesn't give that. And then there's the Izaz one, which is probably the least obvious of the three. But yeah, I thought he was useless. I think he probably let the praise he got the previous week go to his head and just thought he was unstoppable, and he could do what he likes. I mean, you can let the game flow, but not if it means getting all the key decisions wrong, which is what he did. I thought he was terrible, really, from the first whistle right to the end. But bottom line is, it doesn't matter because we won. But yeah, I feel, whoever gets him next week, be a little bit concerned, because no, that absolutely was not a good refereeing performance. And I would imagine that whoever's in charge of referees in the Championship, is it PGMOL in the Championship as well? Don't know.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, I imagine they'll be showing him a few of these incidents and going, "Come on, mate."
He might find himself somewhere else next week. I just want to ask Alfie about like the last 3 games. There's 7 points from the last 3 games. It feels to me like a step towards building a bit of momentum, a step in the right direction. Who gets the credit for that? Is it a collective effort, or do we need to give Tonda a bit of respect? Because we've been quite critical of him, haven't we?
Well, I think we do give Tonda respect. I don't think that we've been disrespectful to Tonda when we've criticised him. We've criticised him fairly based on the results they were having. But yeah, I think he has to have a bit of credit for making the switch, ultimately making the switch to the 4-2-3-1 that people wanted, and putting the players back in the right places. But also he made a big meal of before this run of games about how he'd had big honest conversation with the players, and he sort of asked them to find this deep desire to win games from within. And he almost come out and very very cleverly and carefully questioned their attitude and questioned their desire to win. He said that there's obviously been home truths, which is a phrase we've heard at Saints for the last 5 years. But it seems like a message has got through to the players. And I think that they are performing as a collective. And of course, them being comfortable in the formation and things like that will make a difference. But yeah, I think that's why it's a collective. But you do have to praise Tom Derecker for that. I think the supporters yesterday were unbelievable at Stoke. I genuinely believe that. And I think that must be encouraging for the players as well to know they still have people on side. Who else deserves praise for this? Obviously, the individuals. Daniel Peretz made a difference. I mean, he nearly gave a goal away again yesterday, didn't he? To be fair, he sort of tripped over the ball, but managed to recover. But other than that, the 2 saves are brilliant. A lot of praise to a lot of people. I mean, Steve said, and I was sort of smiling all the way through it, about how we're now back in the running for the playoffs and stuff. And it's funny because every other week we're back in, we're back out, we're back in, we're back out. That's the challenge for Saints now, is to maintain this idea that we are in it, and not to go and lose a silly game, against Watford, for example, and to be back well out of it. So, yeah, well done for what they've done, but there's a long way to go. 16 games, and we've got a lot of points to make up.
Do you think we can do it, Steve? Genuinely, you think 7 points outside the playoff places? Do you think there's enough time to close that gap now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, don't forget, there's a lot of games between the teams in and around that area. I mean, we'll have plenty of games against those sort of sides. I mean, just off the top of my head, Wrexham, Derby, Watford, even this week. So those games, the games sort of between the sides, even like the ones we're not involved in, obviously there are points that will go missing from somewhere. If a team wins, then obviously the other team gets nothing. If there's a draw, then a point goes missing completely. So there are a lot of routes back in. We've seen. I mean, look at Coventry. How many points they've dropped since we played them at St Mary's, and all of a sudden now Middlesbrough are level with them. And Ipswich got a game in hand at Fratton Park on Tuesday, which you would expect they'll go down there and win. And all of a sudden it's you've now got a 3, maybe even 4-way title race if Hull can keep their form up. So yeah, you've seen how quickly things can change in this division. Teams go on runs, good and bad. I mean, you look at West Brom, like the way they've dropped like a stone. Bristol City. Sorry, Alfie. Look like they may be on a similar sort of run, having decided they're going to sell everybody this
yeah,
month.
There's some major issues with the owner at the moment. People are not happy. He gave this isn't important, but he gave a radio interview about half an hour before kickoff, and he said, "This is the best squad we've ever had, and we don't need to spend the money. We don't need to reinvest. We've got enough." And then he got tonked 5-0 at home. You think, okay.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure. Yeah.
Well played, mate.
So yeah, there's enough time. Yeah, 16 games. I mean, it's a third of the season. So yeah, plenty of time to make up 7 points. You could theoretically do it in a 3-game week. So yes, I'm not ruling us out yet.
Steve, the point you've just made is supported by the fact you look at the next 6 games for Saints, right? We play Watford, Leicester, QPR, and Norwich, who are all, I would say, playoff contenders. Leicester are obviously in a bit of a basket case at the moment. Then the other 2 are Charlton and Sheffield Wednesday, who are obviously at the bottom end of the table. So in the next 6 games, I mean, win all of them is a big shout, but there is a real chance there to make up points on those above and pick up some relatively comfortable wins in the process.
Yeah, you've got to go on a run that's. It can't just be 3 or 4 games. It's got to be sort of like 10.
You've got to be
8
8 wins in 10, isn't it? It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think
12 games
16 games left. I think if you win 10 of those, you'll be very unfortunate to not be in the top 6 in this season. With the way I think it'll be a low points total to get into that top 6 again.
Whether you want to be in it is another question entirely.
Well, no,
we certainly do want to be. Well, of course we do.
Want to be in it, yeah. But,
of course, I know what you're saying. Like,
but if you're going to be in it, I'll try and win it. And do we want to win
absolutely.
it?
It's the journey, not the destination.
The thing is, we do want to win it because ultimately, if we don't win it, we're set back another 2 years effectively. So you want to jam your way in and suffer the consequences of being destroyed week in, week out, unfortunately.
Which is why I feel like the next 24 hours and who comes in is quite important. Let's do Player of the Week. Last week it was Taylor Harwood-Bellis that won Player of the Week. It's probably going to be in with a shout again this week. Just shout some names at me. I know we've mentioned a few already, haven't we?
I'm going to go on then.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jack Stevens, I'd say, as going with my someone who outperforms what I expect from them. Thought he was excellent, as said already.
I've got to say Flynn Downes.
Fair enough, Alfie. Good call.
Those two and Harwood-Bellis, I think, are probably the three standouts. And I mean, let's be fair. They're three of the sort of old guard, if you like, who we've probably been most sort of disappointed with and sort of underwhelmed with all season. So for them to have kind of seemingly got their mojos back collectively at the same time is very useful for us, let's say.
I also think on that Stoke performance, there generally wasn't a poor performance. Sorry, Glenn, but I think you could look at the entire team and say that every one of them was exceptional. I thought Ross Stewart was the only one in the first half who didn't really make an impact on the game, but then it comes out in the second half and it was totally different. Obviously, he knocks the ball on for the corner for the goal, and I thought he just made a big impact generally as well. So everybody had their part to play.
It was an early start for you, Steve, but how was that away end? It looked great.
Yeah, it was good. It was decent. I mean, they've moved the away end since last time we were there 2 years ago, because we used to be behind the goal, and they've now moved us into the corner. But no, it's decent. I think it's entirely rail seats, so you've got the safe standing and all that sort of stuff. I mean, obviously, the Bet365 is similar to St Mary's in terms of its age and the way. Kind of the steepness of the stands, so everyone's very used to that sort of thing. It was decent atmosphere, especially given early kickoff. I've kind of mentioned a few times, certainly this season, that these early kickoffs are a little bit difficult for people to get kind of up for. I think away games are usually a little bit different because you've probably been on the train and had a few early beers, but no, it was a good atmosphere. From our end, certainly. I mean, Stoke fans, I imagine they've been on a bit of a ropey run recently, and kind of seeing that performance, albeit with a little bit of a scratch 11. I think they're another side that got double digit injuries at the moment. I mean, that's one thing that we should kind of point out, actually, is the fact that I think did Tonderek mention in one of the interviews, either pre or post match, I can't remember when it was, about our injury record in terms of having 96% availability, which actually sounds low. I mean, other than Stuart missing a few months and Charles missing a few months, can't think of any other absences really. So we've done games on it. Yeah, we've done pretty well on that front. So credit to the physio team and conditioning and all that sort of stuff, all the work that goes in there.
Only thing with that though, Steve, is I mean, he has used that as a point a couple of times. You said before and after correctly. He's mentioned, well, our medical team are doing a brilliant job. We've got a lot of players, so we don't need to make any more signings. We don't need a big squad. So if there is any sort of football writers out there who are scripting this, there will be a massive injury crisis in the next month, and we'll have no players left. We'll all go, why didn't we sign some? But right now, you're absolutely spot on. There's not really been any major issues, and long may that continue.
Of course, the other side of the argument is that they've not been putting a shift in. So, but we'll save that for another day. Anything else on Stoke before we move on?
No.
Their left back got a right torrid time, didn't he? In that first half, the two or three balls that were obviously the Harwood-Bellis one for the goal.
That was a peach.
But we played two or three of those passes in behind him on the regular to Tom Fellows, and he just seemed to be having an absolute field day out there. Kind of felt a bit sorry for their left back by half time. He was just getting run ragged.
Yeah, but however bad he wasn't as bad as the right back, who quite possibly was one of the worst players I've ever seen. He was the one who grabbed hold of Stevens. He also did an amazing bit of lack of awareness when he came running out of position and left Cienza in about 2 miles of space in the first half. For a ball to be played to him. So I think Saints did target the fullback areas, to be honest. They probably realised that they were
creative players are the wingers, aren't they? So it makes sense.
Yeah, and there's the advantage of having Tom Fellows further up the pitch. The fact that that guy, he's obviously probably a makeshift left back. He was going to have a player, a very good winger at this level to deal with all game, and obviously just showed that he wasn't up to it. Whereas Fellows is 40, 50 yards further back, then he doesn't have as many problems. So it's infuriating in a way, because the formation change and using the players in the positions they were bought for has been so obvious for so long. And we've done it, and we look like a proper team. And we've sat here talking about maybe we can make the playoffs. Whereas if we'd still been playing three at the back with Nathan Wood and Josh Kwasi and Ryan Manning in the team, I promise you we would not have got 7 points out of the last 9, and we wouldn't be sitting here with sort of like any remote optimism of making the playoffs. And in fact, we'd be looking over the shoulder a little bit more than we are.
It does seem to be one of the consequences of constantly changing manager, is that every manager feels they have to learn what everyone else has learned for themselves, if that makes sense. So you go through playing the same sort of players in the wrong sort of positions over and over again, because that manager hasn't tried it themselves until they finally think, oh yeah, do you know what? They were right. And that is one of the big downsides.
Then the penny drops, isn't it? We'll get on to the Watford game in just a moment. On Saturday after the game, we're going to be heading to the Guide Dog pub, which, if you've never been to the Guide Dog pub, it's Earls Road. It's just off Beavers Valley. Just recently, it was taken over by the guys from Steamtown Brewery, so they've got a pub in town now. And we're going to be doing a little get-together. I'm calling it a pubcast. I don't know if that's going to catch on or not, but if you want to come and join us for a pint and a chat about the game, we're going to be there from about 4 o'clock on Saturday. So just have a little look on Google, the Guide Dog pub. It's Earls Road. It's just off Beavers Valley, so it's not far from the ground, and we'll be there from 4 o'clock for a drink and a chat about the game on Saturday. So I look forward to seeing you there if you're going to pop down. So as I say, we're back at St Mary's on Saturday. It's another lunchtime kickoff. Watford, the visitors this time. Today, Steve, you won't believe this, but their manager has left. This time resigned as head coach, though. I mean, who saw that coming? I'd forgotten that this means they're looking for their third manager this season. But we kind of come to expect it now.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a cracking stat on Twitter earlier from Daniel Story, chief football writer of the I paper, I think, and it was that none of Watford's last 12 managers have made 50 games for the club, and the last manager who did make 50 games was Javi Gracia in his previous go at it. So they are a model of instability. I mean, in fairness, for a number of years it kind of worked for them, but I think they're now kind of going through that sort of period of just we're just treading water a little bit now. I think the fans are probably a little bit weary of it all, and I mean, I guess what. One positive for them is that they know that the Pozzos are, like, in terms of the club being in any sort of danger of going under, they're absolutely fine financially, which certainly wasn't the case with sort of previous owners and other sort of interested parties. But I mean, it kind of sounds a little bit familiar to us, doesn't it? In that you've got an owner who's keeping the club financially sound, but is making some either rash or poorly judged footballing decisions.
And we're halfway to that manager stat you said as well, by the way. So we probably shouldn't laugh too hard.
Yeah, it's a slight concern. They haven't won in their last 5 games, though, Alfie. So we're going into this with our tails up, and it should be one that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I think it's a real boost that Javi Gracia has handed in his notice at this point, because you mentioned they're obviously on a run with 5 and no win, 4 in the league. But before that, I think they'd lost 1 in 14 in the league, and they'd won a really good portion of them. They were looking like genuine playoff contenders. And I can't remember the last time we saw Watford up there in the Championship. Have they even been in with a shout since they last went down? I'm not 100% convinced they have. Not only that, but their best player, Nestor Irangunda, has got himself sent off straight red in the 93rd minute of that 2-0 loss to Swansea on the weekend. So he won't be available to play Saints. And he is their real talisman. That obviously scored a free kick at Vicarage Road in the other game, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're obviously a bit of a basket case, and it'd be interesting to see what happens now. They're on the great slide down the table, and it has to be a big opportunity for Saints. Not only that, they've got to go to Hull on Tuesday night in the league, so that's presumably a catch-up game or something that must have been.
Yeah, that's the one that was called off 10 minutes before kickoff.
The dodgy one, yeah, the dodgy one. So they've got to go to Hull on Tuesday, and Saints got a full week of preparation. So I think we've got to really target this one. Now it's a 12:30 kickoff. Obviously, the atmosphere won't be brilliant as a result, but we've got to look at this one as one we win and keep this run going.
Should be a very different atmosphere to that last home game, that's for sure, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've obviously had three decent results, and yeah, why not? Everyone should be looking forward to it and going into the game believing we could win. So yeah, no reason to not get down there and expect good things. And yeah, as Alfie said, they absolutely have to win this. If you don't win this, you're not serious about things, are you? And Watford are on the slide. I don't even, Steve, you did tell me who their new manager was, or temporary manager.
So they've got oh god, what's
academy coaches?
Charlie Daniels and Dan Gosling. Bournemouth legends.
So I mean, they're a ridiculous club. I say this every time we play, a ridiculous club. I can't even be bothered to learn who their manager is, because by the time we come to record, he's gone. And yeah, it's just. I know they're not too far removed from us in terms of 3 managers a season and all that, but they seem to do it with great regularity. So, yeah, I mean, I saw the lad got sent off and he scored against us. He was only a sub on Saturday as well, Aaron Coogan. So I don't know if he's lost his form or whatever. They were just being rotated, but no. Hopefully hopefully they get beat by Hull on Tuesday night, and or at least have a very, very tough game. I don't think Hull is an easy game physically, regardless of how they're playing. So hopefully Watford have a tough time, and they come to us not fancying it too much, because if we're playing well, if we can put in a performance like we did against Stoke, then it's going to be a very tough game for them. But it's one where the cards should be stacked in our favour to go out and get a win. So hopefully it's a good day at St Mary's.
Danger man for them this weekend. Go on.
Narrator, they lost.
The danger man for them this weekend probably is that Kieran up front. I can't remember if he was any good in the reverse game, but he's their top scorer of 8 goals, and I think he's about 6'5" or 6'4". So he'll potentially be a handful. But I feel all of a sudden quite sort of confident. I feel I back Taylor Bellis and Jack Stevens to get on top of him and to not really give him a sniff, which we wouldn't have been saying 2 weeks ago. It's been 3 games now. We've not actually conceded the goal from open play. So the only goal we've conceded in those 3 games is obviously the set piece at Pompey, clean sheet against Sheffield United, clean sheet of the weekend. It's
not just the centre backs dealing with the the full backs dealing with the crosses coming in. You see Wellington and Jamesbury are both making the wingers' job much more difficult to sling the ball into the box. Obviously, set pieces, we've still got bit of an issue there, but I just again, it's so I told you so, isn't it? Just seeing fullbacks stopping crosses coming into the box, and suddenly we're not under as much threat in open play as we were before. So bring it on.
We never stopped crosses when we played four at the back with Russell Martin, but that's because I think his identity was he believed in letting. Go on.
Yeah, one of them was Ryan Manning.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. Yeah, but his identity, Russell Martin, he was actually more about letting the crosses come in and dealing with them when they actually come into the box. So that was sort of why. And I guess I didn't think that we'd be as effective as we have been in that regard. But having a keeper who can save a shot as well helps. Feeling good. Oh, do you know what? It was interesting in the couple of days before the Stoke game. Todd the Record said that they trained set pieces on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They did defensive ones on Wednesday and Friday, and they did offensive ones on Thursday. And they did actually score one. So that little bit of work has maybe paid off. The thing with Daniel Peretz on these set pieces and corners, he seems to completely misjudge the flight of the ball every single time. I don't know. He just seems to get stuck under it. It ends up going all the way over his head to the back post, or he goes to the back post and it drops early. But obviously everyone has got to have their cons. He'd be playing for Bayern Munich if he was not bad at something.
Bit more work this week though, and happy days, I reckon. Should we do some predictions? Last time out for the weekend, 34 people correctly predicted Saints win. 6 of those were confident enough to go for the 2-0. So well done if you called that. Steve, do you want to go first this week? Prediction for the Watford game?
I think a repeat. To be honest, I think
2-0.
Yeah, we've got enough in attack, and all of a sudden we have this newfound defensive solidity. Who knew? I think Watford, given their current situation, especially if they get a bit of a run around at Hull on Tuesday night, that's not a trip you want in midweek at relatively short notice. So 4 weeks to prepare. Why not? 2-0 win.
Nice. I like this confidence, Glenn.
I'm even more confident. It's just will we keep another clean sheet? Let's go for it. I'll go for a 3-0 win. I'm quite confident going into this game, but yeah, I'll probably get burned for that. But yeah, 3-0.
Alfie.
I'll also go for a 2-0 win, and I'll go for a late debut goal for our new 6'2" talisman, Kyle Larin, who hasn't scored this season, but he's going to come and do the business for us.
And away we go. If you want to take part in our predictions league, it is just a bit of fun. But if you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login, and you can find the updated leaderboard and how to play over on the website. Head to totalsaints.co.uk. Anything else before we finish? Glenn, you were at the women's game today, and that was a decent result. Good game.
I was. So I think Crystal Palace came down from the WSL last year, and Saints basically really, really good team performance today. Similar to the men's game at Stoke. There wasn't a bad player out there. Everyone really put a shift in. Saints carried an attacking threat throughout. They had to dig in. They were 2-0 up and 2-1 just before half time. They suffered a bit at the start. The sort of first 20 minutes of the second half, Crystal Palace looked like they were going to get back into it. Keeper made a couple of good saves, keep them out. But Saints always carried a threat on the break, and Ellie Brazil completed a hat trick in the last minute. So it was a really good performance against a half decent side. But it's a few standout players. But overall, obviously Ellie Brazil scores a hat trick, but there was some other players. Macaloni on the left wing, she was tremendous. Really gets stuck in. Chloe Peplow in midfield, just runs all day, and just smashes into every tackle. She's a tough cookie in the centre of midfield. So they played really well, deserved to win, and fair play. You never know, they might make a run for the playoff at the top of that league. We did manage to grab a word with Marianne Spacey-Kyle during before the game, and she was emphasising the gulf between the WSL and WSL2. It sounds like it's very, very similar to the Premier League and the Championship in the men's games. So maybe a case of being careful what you wish for, but they certainly played really well today. Fair play to them.
And she's going to come on the podcast soon. Is that right? Have we got that in writing?
We haven't got it in writing, but we have a verbal agreement.
That's good enough.
We'll see.
We should probably, before we wrap up, talk about the terrible night of PR that Sport Republic had on Friday with regards to what's going on at one of our beloved sister clubs in France.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about the solar panels that they announced on.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. I've spoken to Tom Fellows about that. He recited his lines perfectly. It's great for the environment, and it's going to save the club money in the long run. How can you dislike that?
I just thought, I've got a funny feeling I'm going to be able to predict what every single one of these replies says. You click on it. Can you play it up front? Can you play it up front?
Yeah.
Can you play it up front?
Yeah.
No, so the Sport Republic, was it a video? Was it a report on YouTube?
Yeah, well, it's Romain Molina, I believe is his name. If I've got it wrong, apologies. He's obviously got something in for Valenciennes or Sport Republic because he's been all over it all season. But I don't know what's true and what's not. Obviously, of course, I don't. But he seems to suggest that they're hemorrhaging quite a lot of money, and he sort of takes aim at directors, running the club. So below Dragan Salak, appointed by Dragan Salak, who seem to be having a bit of jolly apparently with the club finances. I mean, it came at a poor time for Sport Republic as a whole, because obviously all the everything going on Saints, but also it was right in the middle of the Taylor Harwood-Bellis meltdown when everyone decided that he was gone, despite there being no actual proof of that. So, but it's obviously not ideal, is it? I mean, we know that Dragan Solak has entrusted people who have run this club poorly at times. They may be doing it now, and it seems like it's a problem over in France as well. So it is a worry for supporters who are obviously going to look at that and think, well, if they're bollocks in 2 of their 3 clubs, it's not a great sign. Göztepe are doing brilliantly well. They're probably going to qualify for Europe, but 2 out of 3 is not an amazing hit rate. If it leads to sort of like selling Valenciennes early and just focusing on Göztepe and Saints, then that might not be a bad thing. Honestly, I think they probably take on a bit more than they probably can manage at the first, I think.
Well, French league's got really strict sort of financial licensing as well, hasn't it? So it's if you're hemorrhaging money under those conditions, then you are gonna be in some serious trouble. You could end up with sort of license revocations and enforced relegations and stuff like that, like we saw with Bordeaux, didn't we, a couple of years ago, where they got booted down a couple of divisions. Had to reform and all this sort of nonsense. So
don't forget, the one good thing come out of that, though, because we signed Sekou Mara and then we made about £1 million profit on him. So that's good. That's a win for everyone.
Yay.
Is there anything else we're expecting to happen tonight, Alfie, in terms of transfers, or would it all be sort of early tomorrow? Or are you thinking like deal sheets, last minute stuff?
I don't know when things will happen.
Is it difficult to predict?
Yeah, I don't know when things will happen. Look, it's obviously a 7 p.m. deadline. I think that to round up, I think we're probably all expecting Adam Armstrong to go to Wolves. Maybe Cameron Archer will go to Rangers on loan. Maybe that won't have an obligation like we want. We'll sign this Kyle Larin guy, on loan for the rest of the season. Joe Aribo will probably go to Leicester, unbelievably. And I think that might be all she wrote. I mean, there'll be a couple of academy loans. Also, I mean, Amo-Ameyaw is one to watch. I mean, does Amo-Ameyaw carry on? I mean, is there any point in him carrying on? Or does he actually just say, look, this hasn't worked, and maybe hang up his boots or do something else?
He didn't play for the under-21s on Friday. I know they said he had an ankle injury, didn't he? But
yeah, he played for the 21s a week ago, but he hasn't played in 2 games since. So it's a little bit weird.
Might be one to watch as well.
Yeah. I would just say that thinking about it, if we go into these last 16 games and our strikers are the very injury-prone one, and Nick Oyakunle, who basically did shuttle runs for half an hour yesterday, and a big unknown, never played in England before, Canadian guy, then to me, that's a bit sketchy. I know Cameron Archer's not everyone's cup of tea, but if Armstrong goes, I don't see the value in letting him go out on loan. I really don't. Unless they're going to give us 3 million quid for it, I really don't see the value of letting him go out on loan. I really don't, even though he's not brilliant, as we've all seen in the 2 years. So, and if he does go, I don't think you can go into those 16 games with just those 3 strikers. I think you need someone else. And again, it could be another loan, but it's going to be another rabbit out of the hat, someone we've never heard of, isn't it? Unless something really comes in from left field that we're not expecting. So maybe a Premier League loan, but that market seems to be a little bit quiet. So
talking to people at the club earlier, I think the reason why they're going for Kyle Larin is because they felt that there wasn't anything in the market in the Premier League really. There wasn't any decent options available, and with the Kyle Larin deal, I mean. I don't know if he's going to be any good. He is what I've been asking for. I think we needed someone who's a physical profile, someone to hit, but it is relatively risk-free financially. I would rather they got someone like him in for next to nothing for 6 months without committing to buying him than doing a January 2023 and buying Kamaldeen Suleiman and Paul Anu-Achi for 40 million quid and then paying the price back.
Paul Anu-Achi would be pretty handy right now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, he would be better than what we've got. But ultimately paying the price for that for the next 2 years. So I guess that's their thinking. But it's interesting.
How's Ben Brereton Diaz getting on at Derby?
He's doing brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly.
Amazing. Are you blogging tomorrow? Are you doing a all-day blog thing? Are you up early for that?
I love blog all day, and I think I'm going to be on BBC Radio Solent for the bit of the last hour as well. So,
all right.
Is it 7 o'clock deadline, isn't it?
Jim
yes, 7 o'clock. Yeah, 7 o'clock.
Nice. All right. Busy day then. Thank you guys. Thanks for tonight. You can follow Total Saints Podcast on all the social media platforms. Just have a search for at Total Saints Pod. Check out the merch store as well, shop.totalsaints.co.uk. You'll also find us on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contributions. You head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. Those tiers come with different perks, including shout outs for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, David Mansell, Nick Gardner, John Collison, Voice FM, and now Andrew Steele as well. They're in our Francis Benali tier. And thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Kingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy. They're all in our Mick Shannon tier. Don't forget, if you're around at the Guide Dog pub just off of Beavers Valley on Saturday after the game, we'll see you there for a pint. Thanks to Paul Castle Associates and Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Steve, to Alfie, and to Glenn. And we will see you again